Hey guys, welcome back. Frost here. A big story came to my attention. An original post by Blizzard, a blue post. Apparently, they've changed their mind with something they said at BlizzCon 2018 regarding the patch progress, the content introduced into the game. So initially, they were saying to have 4 stages, if you remember, with Onyxia and Molten Core and Dire Maul at launch. They changed their mind. They're listening to the community, and this is what they came out with an idea. And we'll get into this. We'll read it all together. So at BlizzCon 2018, we proposed a plan to give Classic 4 content phases. These were planned to be centered primarily on raid power progression. Currently, based on both of your feedback and our own deliberations, we're now planning to increase it to 6 phases. Our focus is still primarily on player power progression, but we're also aiming to capture what it felt like to play in a realm community in original World of Warcraft. To do that, we're planning to mirror the approach taken by the original WoW with patches paired together. We'll launch Classic with content from original WoW through patch 1.2. Okay. And then second update will include content that was in original WoW 1.3 and 1.4. So this is like they start with patch 1.2 and probably 4 to 6 months after 1.2, they release the next content from 1.3 and 1.4. The third Classic update will have 1.6 and 1.5 and 1.6 content and so on. Okay, we'll come back to this soon. Our first phase primarily focuses on launching Classic with Onyxia and Molten Core, but we've decided to hold off on Dire Maul for a while. Maraudon is still there in the first phase. Well, that's not a big deal because Maraudon was like added in December to like a couple of 2 months. By the time the first player reached 60, Dire Maul was added or something like that. So Maraudon is still in the first phase because it was originally released on December 18, 2004, just 2 weeks after the first player hit 60. But we recognize that Dire Maul is a different category. Some of the loot that's attainable from Dire Maul is so good that it would affect progression to those early raids. We're also planning to hold off releasing Kazzak and Azuregos as launch as well for the same reasons. So this is great news because we'll get into this as well. Let's read on because I'm so heavy. The next change we're targeting addresses 2 concerns. First, Zul'Gurub and Blackwing Lair. If you remember back at BlizzCon, they wanted to release them together. But the loot from Zul'Gurub, it's so powerful. In some cases, you can get better loot from Zul'Gurub than you can get in Blackwing Lair, for example. And not only that, but you get the shoulder enchants, you get the helmet and pants enchants. Those are like having an extra item on you or so on. If you calculate, for example, the shoulder enchant was 30 attack power for a rogue. And let's just go for a hunter, because I remember the hunter better. So 30 attack power on shoulders, plus 24 ranged attack power on helmet and pants. That's 48 attack power, plus 30 attack power, it's 78, 80 attack power. It's more than 1 item extra. So yeah, let's go through. And I don't want to even get into the items like trinkets and healing stuff and the caster stuff and all that items. So first, Zul'Gurub and Blackwing Lair unlocking at the same time would differ from how they originally came out, and it makes sense not to have gear and enchants from Zul'Gurub available during early progress into Blackwing Lair. Secondly, the Emerald Dragons should be available earlier than the opening of Anchorage, as they give us a way to start preparing nature resist gear for some of the encounters in AQ40 in Anchorage. So yeah. Along the way, we've taken a close look at the items that provide the biggest power gains, many of which were introduced in 1.20 as part of a sweeping dungeon itemization pass. That patch was when the tier 0.5 was introduced and relics were added to the drop tables of many bosses. It also adjusted drop rates and drop location to a lot of gear to make room for the relics. We've gone back and reconstructed many of the most heavily affected drop tables as they existed prior to the 1.10 patch, and we're planning to update the drop tables alongside the Anchorage War effort. Prior to the Ankiraj unlock, most of the drop rates and the location will look as they did in the patches prior to 1.10, with exceptions. There are lots of little changes made in earlier patches that don't have a big effect on player power, and in those cases we're planning to use the 1.12 drop rates and locations. One example of the many items we're planning for is Titanic Leggings, which is a world drop that first appeared in 1.10. We can confirm that it will be controlled by the same content unlock that restricts the other 1.10 loot changes. Here's what the release order currently looks like. So phase 1 at launch, let's say in 1st of August 2019. Let's play with me. Molten Core, Onyxia and Maraudon. Probably this first phase will go on for 4 to 6 months. I'm not sure if they're gonna push it to 6. It can be done, maybe 5. And then you get Dire Maul, Azuregos and Kazzak. And this one, I'm not sure if they can push this one to 6 months as well, maybe 3 months. Then you get phase 3, Blackwing Lair, Darkmoon Fair, and the deck drops. Okay, so this is kind of confusing to me, because this should be 1.5, I think, here with Blackwing Lair. No, 1.4, I think, Blackwing Lair. But up until this point, there are a couple of things. Here we have the 1.4 patch and the changes we got through 1.4 patch. Like another thing, it's the PvP system. If that's the case, maybe we'll get the PvP system in phase 3 after 8 months or even 1 year after Classic launch. So the PvP, it's one of the most important things there. But the loot here. So I'm not gonna go to the items. Many of them were changed, but if you look here, for example, Scholomance. Scholomance got 20 new rare items added to Scholomance. If you remember, the mini bosses started dropping like the tanking set. I don't remember the name of it, but that was very good for getting warriors to get their defense cap. Stratholm got 26 new rare items during that patch. Would those be added in the phase 3, or would they be in the game from the beginning? That's kind of questionable. So we already have 46 new rare items, and this is not everything. Like items, so many items changed in game. I'm not sure if you know the Diana Pearl necklace. This one, it's for casters with 1% hit and 9 spell power, stamina and intellect. This is pre-best slot for casters, warlocks, mages, whatever, shadow priests. But this was added in patch 1.11. Would this be in game from the beginning? Would they take this so serious, like the Titanic Leggings? Would it be in game? Another question is like, do you know the Bangkok Sash? Sash. Let's go for Sash because I don't remember. There we go. Bangkok Sash. So I'm not sure if you remember, but previous to patch 1.4, this piece of this belt, which has 10 stamina, 11 intellect, 1% hit, and 12 spell power, prior to patch 1.4, I'm pretty sure it was a green belt with no significant stats. I think it was spirit and stamina or something quite not important. No one would have used it. It would have gone to vendor or disenchant. How would this look on the initial release of the game? I kind of wonder, because I'm not sure for a fact if this was modified during patch 1.4 or 1.10, but probably 1.4. Another thing here. As you can see, rated itemization, Onyxia, Azuregos, Lord Kazzak received some new items on the loot table. Onyxia will once again drop 2 upper tier class helmets, okay, but that's not important. Okay, the loot tables for some of the Molten Core bosses have been improved, so they drop an additional epic per kill. Not only that, but some of the items in Molten Core, like the Ring of Spell Power, I'm not sure if you know this one, 33 spell power, it's very good for casters. This was added, I think, in patch 1.4. I think the Robe of Volatile Power was added as well. And some of the for example, the Azure Song Mageblade. Normally, prior to patch 1.4, this sword had 1% critical strike, 7 stamina, and 12 intellect. After patch 1.4, it receives 40 spell power. Would this be like prior to patch 1.4? I mean, on the classic release, first time you kill Golem Mag, how would the sword look if it drops? Would it have 40 spell power and so on? So there's still so many questions because there were so many changes. This is only patch 1.4 here. And let's go back a bit to the content. But this, don't get me wrong, I'm talking too much here, but this is good news actually. This is good news. Because why is it good news? Because it will make the raids feel more powerful, more hard to complete. Like not having the Dire Maul loot to kill Onyxia and Molten Core, not having the extra items from the dungeons, the rare items that we just discussed, not being able to get the world buffs from Dire Maul and so on. Like, this is huge. It will make the content feel way more powerful than we experience on private server or than we remember. Good. Zul'Gurub comes with the green dragons. This is a good idea because it gets you time to prepare for nature resistance gear for Ankiraj. Phase 5, Ankiraj War Effort begins. Ankiraj raids open and dungeon loot reconfiguration. Tier 0.5, relics, drop rates, and location changes. I'm not sure exactly what this means because this is like, do they take care of everything? But the point is, and then phase 6 comes Naxxramas and Scourge Invasion. We haven't yet determined exactly when phase 2 to 6 will occur, and PvP content is notably missing from the list above. That's because we're still evaluating our options regarding the PvP rewards, as they also changed over time. Yeah, for example, they changed like 3 times the PvP sets. The blue ones, I'm talking about the blue ones. I think they were changed once in patch 1.4 and then another time, 3 times. The final version, it's quite OP of the PvP sets, at least the blue ones. So they're still evaluating this, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna make a good decision. While we cannot elaborate on every detail or of every step we're going to take yet, we're here reading all of your questions and we're going to keep the answers coming. Thank you. No, we thank you because you take the time to look into this and to listen to the community. This is great, man. It's gonna be bad for casters in the beginning if they choose to make it everything like it was back in Classic. You remember, like, melee were presented with more options than casters in terms of gearing pre-raid and so on. Like, for a caster, it was almost impossible to get gear with hit. If you wanted to get hit on your gear, you had like an option. There was a belt from Kirtonos the Herald, from Skulomance, a summoned boss that you needed the Blood of the Innocents and so on. That was the only hit item I recall prior to patch 1.4. So I'm quite curious, as we said, will we see these items in the beginning? Or they will focus only on the important ones? Well, those are the important ones as well. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. What are your guys' thoughts about this? Let me know in the comments below. In my opinion, this is great news. Like, moving Dire Maul from the first phase and moving Zul'Gurub from the Blackwing Lair patch. Like, Zul'Gurub, it's a great dungeon. It deserves a patch itself, and it comes with the green dragons. And Blackwing Lair, it's enough for a patch itself, and so on. Let me know what you think, guys. I'm quite hyped that we're starting to get more and more updates. Like, it was an update like a week ago. They're communicating. They haven't said anything about the beta yet. I hope it will be a beta. I don't want like people to level from 1 to 60. Maybe make a locked beta. At least give us something. Anyway, until next time, stay frosty, guys. Bye-bye.